numbers.
18 million subscribers for Game Pass, man. Damn, what a...
It's growing about 1 million every month.
Apparently they had their best, they had a very good,
It's growing about 1 million every month. There's
that
me.
doesn't make sense, actually.
All right, are we broadcasting? Are we ready? Are we ready to roll?
We are ready to go.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, one and all, our millions and millions of loyal fans, subscribers, viewers. Welcome to Crafting a Chat. We've got the illustrious panel for you once again this evening. Adam, Genesis, your boy Giuseppe Jones. We're going to be talking about some game stuff as we craft the chat. Once again, in our luxurious Minecraft discussion studio built by the indelible Mr. Adam. Hey, what have you been playing this week, Adam?
I haven't really been playing too much. Oh, I started Maneater, because that's PlayStation Plus on PS5. I finished Maneater, got the Platinum. Took me about 12, 13 hours or so. Just spend time just hitting R2. I don't recommend the game unless you want a Platinum. Other than that, I don't recommend it at all. It's not good. The comedy was pretty funny. I like that. Yeah, I played a little bit of some other games, but I'll talk about that later. And then Genesis and I, we perfect runned that game. He just wants to jump right into it because I'm about done with my game. Oh, we played Uncharted. Sorry about that. Yeah, Little Hope.
We all played Uncharted, yeah.
Little Hope, yeah, we went through Little Hope. I liked it more than Man of Medan or Medan, whatever the heck you say.
Okay.
It's, fun. I only watch him play, and then I make the decisions normally. I make a lot of the decisions. I wear the pants in the group chat. And
Absolutely.
And we made all good decisions because we got there, and we had a good time. We stayed up until like 4 a.m., and when we're done... Was it 5? It was close.
It was 5.
It was pretty late. Probably shouldn't have done that, but we had off the next day, so it was fine. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. Haven't done that in a while, stayed up that late, especially with you. So that was a lot of fun. That game was so much fun. I really liked that game. I can't get over how much I actually liked that game. I was pleasantly surprised. But other than that, I bought The Wolf Among Us. I haven't started it yet. It's only $5.50 or $4.50 on the PlayStation Store. So
definitely worth a $5 game for sure.
Yeah, and then we played Uncharted multiplayer again. For some reason, we just kind of got back into that, and I did all right.
More like
and
a spontaneous decision that we were like, hey, we got Uncharted. Let's install that back in. All right, we're good to go.
Yeah, and I did all right in one game, and I died 15 times in another. But that's whatever, you know. I'll have some videos on my channel eventually, probably. I don't know. I don't care. But check out the Crafting a Chat YouTube channel. We've got a lot of Uncharted clips right there. Some good ones, too. So, Genesis.
Subscribe. Get us over that 1,000 subscriber mark on there. I don't know how close.
Get us over the 10 million. Don't aim low, all right?
All right. 10 million subscribers, and we will do a face reveal at 10 million.
My face is literally the picture on my channel, but it's me as a child with my full name on it. I should probably change that. But if this Crafting a Chat YouTube video gets 1 billion likes, I will kill Genesis.
All right, cool. I can take that. I'm
not in real life, where I'm not committing a crime here. Don't murder people, but like.
No.
Genesis, what are you playing? We're getting distracted. What are you playing?
Like you mentioned before, we played Little Hope. It was a lot of fun. You making the decisions and me losing my mind half the time, wondering whether it was the right choice we made. And you're, calmly telling me everything's gonna be fine. We did the right thing. Don't worry about it. And then 5 seconds later, I'm like, oh, you're right. We did the right thing. And then another 5 seconds go by, and I'm hyperventilating into a brown paper bag, and I don't know what to do.
Real quick, props to you. Even though you're hyperventilating, you barely missed a button. I think you missed 2 throughout the entire game. So
and that was much better than Detroit that I played. I missed at the end sequence, so I missed a bunch of buttons, and you're watching it, and you're like, what are you doing?
I don't know
what I'm doing.
Yeah, there's something going on there, but it's
But
okay.
yeah, this one I did very well. Didn't miss much. I ended up getting it very well. That game was a lot of fun. Our number one fan of the podcast recommended that we should play that game. He
Hmm.
had very good thoughts on the second one versus the first one. I have to be inclined to agree with him that it's definitely much better than the first one. The first one was good. It was scary. This wasn't like a horror. Okay, it's a horror game, but like it's not actual supernatural things happening because it's you'll find out if you play the game. But um, it's a
I
good
think
game. I like it
I
a
think if
lot.
we replayed the first one, we'd be like, okay, this we get to the good parts. But if we replayed Little Hope, we'd be like, oh wow, look at that. Oh, I didn't notice this. Oh, look how cool this is.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely,
that
absolutely.
that
We
kind of
we
helps
saw
it.
premonitions of things that were supposed to happen, and we're like, oh, we're never gonna get to that side of the story because
Mhm.
we're not doing that.
But yeah,
Well,
there's
actually, we
that
didn't even know
one.
what we were doing.
That one we waited the whole game for. We're like, we know it's coming up. We know who it's gonna be. We know what's gonna happen. And every
Yeah,
time it came up, we're like,
no.
we know is it this? And it wasn't. And we're like, oh, well, we're prepared. And then they gave
Oh
you that
God.
option with the weapon, and it was like, Paul, no, no, you keep that in your pocket. And
And I
it
only
worked out.
had one more bullet for it too. I'm like, it can't be used for this.
We did so good. So good, such
Oh,
fun.
real good. I can't wait for the next one. Next one we've
Hmm.
seen the sneak peek of House of Ashes. Should be coming out this year. So can't wait for that one. Maybe if we get enough subscribers and enough followers, maybe we'll do that live over here.
Oh yeah, we'd stream it and have a good time with it. That'd
Yeah,
be fun.
yeah, yeah.
Giuseppe, you could join us.
Um, yeah, you could
Sure.
definitely help us make some of the choices and be like, we should do this, and then we end up in a non-perfect run, and we'd be like, this is all Giuseppe's fault. I can't believe he made us go on a non-perfect run.
Well,
Now
now
wait a
I don't
minute.
know.
You think that my influence is going to lead to an imperfect anything?
I'll tell
Listen,
you right
you
now,
gotta
I don't think it will. But if it happens, you're gonna get blamed because you weren't there for the first
because
two.
yeah, because we have never well, listen, I will put this on record. We have never ever messed up either one of those games. We flawlessly did it. Perfect run. No
Hmm.
restarts, no nothing. Anyway, I also played Horizon and Uncharted, and I think that's it. I don't think I didn't play any COD or anything like that. So yeah, I think that was it. Unless I missed something,
You
which I
played a little
usually do.
COD after the cast last week.
Did I? Oh yeah, I did. Yeah,
Yeah,
I did.
yeah,
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I did
yeah.
because I was getting emotional. I did.
Oh my goodness.
Good times, good times.
Giuseppe, what about you?
Well, me, I finally got around to finishing Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night,
You
and
finished
now
it?
yeah, I've definitely not platinumed. I'm now at the cleanup stage in the gameplay where I have to go around and basically rinse and recycle all the different nooks and crannies of the castle to collect all the different rare drops for items, weapons, armor, consumables, things that, in order to basically complete the item list, I have recently done that for the Grimoire. So all the beasts have been defeated and accounted for, as well as collecting the rare shard drops, which basically shards are give you like different magic spells and abilities that you use with mana for the game. So I completed those as well as 100%ing the map itself, which wasn't that was not the most fun thing in the world, but it never is for those style of Metroidvania games. But yeah, now it's getting a little bit more into the grindy aspect of it. So I really thoroughly enjoyed the game in and of itself. I thought it was a very fresh revival of the best nostalgia berries of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Great looking game. Really cool things that they're still able to do gameplay wise in a 2D format. Again, that's the kinds of things that I'm looking to emulate with my own personal game project idea. But again, that's only one aspect of it. And then beyond that, I also got right back into Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm still, clearing out the island. Really staying away from the main quest missions. I'm enjoying the freedom aspect of that game, like really like discovering the island at my own pace, clearing things out in the order and method of my choosing. That's one aspect I would say of sandbox open world games that very easily gets overlooked. The whole nonlinear options the game presents to the player, as opposed to things that are more scripted or rigid or regimented in order to facilitate a very dedicated gameplay rhythm. You know what I mean? On purpose, and I really enjoy it for Ghost. I love the freeform aspect of it. It's a really good time. I had gotten out of it because the gameplay loop was starting to get a little repetitive for me. So I kind of like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna put that off to the side for a little bit and try something else just to get a change of pace. But I've been able to jump back into it, and it's just as great as when I left it. So there we are. That's what we've been playing. So, do you gentlemen mind if I go ahead and launch into the first official segment of the cast this evening?
Please go right ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sounds good. So, I don't know where exactly the specific inspiration for this idea came from, but I guess I had been thinking about it for a while. And the idea I was thinking about was the aspect of these very expensive collector's editions that come with some games. It's not every game. Not every game has the budget to, create this, this interesting self-promotion angle of collector's editions that kind of like add a little bit more to that hype wagon, to generate that excitement for an anticipated game prior to launch. And some of these game collector's editions can be really over-the-top elaborate, like that, what was it, that Dead Island game that if you paid, $375,000, it would get you all of this stuff, but it would also get you like a special VIP treatment by visiting the developers in Poland, and you'd be able to get like a walkthrough and, I don't know, maybe some like credit in the final product of the game. I don't know. That's just, wow, really ridiculous.
Wasn't there like a $1 million collector's edition for like GTA or something where you get like an actual Lamborghini or something with it? I can't remember if there was an actual $1 million edition of any game. For some reason, that rings a bell for something. It wasn't maybe GTA, it was maybe something else.
Was it Call of Duty with the Humvee or Jeep or something?
Was it Call
maybe
of
it
Duty?
was something like
Wait
that.
a minute. You keep going. I'm gonna search this up real quick.
Something like that. But again, the idea, of course, is that collector's editions are really up to the individual whether or not you're getting any kind of worth out of it, because certainly not all of them actually wind up being like worthwhile collector's investments. For one reason.
$1 million.
Was Saints Row?
Yeah, it was Saints Row. It was a Lamborghini, plastic surgery, and a trip to space.
Plastic surgery.
Did anybody buy that?
I don't know. It came with the Toyota Prius as well.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, no,
well,
okay.
honestly, that's the kind of game that would probably have something ridiculous like that attached to it. But regardless, off topic. The topic is looking a little bit further into these collector's editions, because in this day and age, in this day of the information age, I should say rather, there's one thing that very recent history has taught us all, is that we cannot trust games companies. Don't trust the hype, don't trust the advertising, and really only believe half of your gameplay footage reveals. Because the fact of the matter is, chances are, things are going to fall real way short. And the need for honest reviews and assessments, specifically in the video game industry, has never been more important than it is today. And finding new ways of insight into what the final game product is ultimately going to be prior to launch is an invaluable thing to look into. And I was thinking about it. What if these collector's editions for these highly anticipated games, what if these collector's editions are tipping their hands as to what their final game product is ultimately going to be prior to anyone really getting their hands on it in earnest to really see what the game is really all about. Is it going to be a deep dive character drama? Is it going to be a thrilling narrative? Is it just going to be a Twitch shooter? Is it going to be blah, 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 blah? Who's to say? So I took it a little further, and I did a little bit of research. And I researched 40 games and their collector's editions, specifically focusing on the physical aspect of the actual collector's edition, for an actual physical representation to give the game the marquee shelf space that people, again, are going to assign in their trophy room of collector's editions. Again, in theory, this is what this particular product is intended for people that are going to be getting a bunch of these. And I was thinking, is it possible that the choice in what these physical elements are to a video game's collector's edition, is it possible that these things are giving us a little bit more insight as to what the game is really all about? So, I can run down a quick list of the games that I surveyed. So, Cyberpunk 2077, God of War, Death Stranding, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, AC Odyssey, AC Origins, Dishonored 2, Titanfall 2, Mass Effect Andromeda, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, GTA 5, Lu 2, Halo 3, Infamous Second Son, Arkham Knight, Arkham City, Arkham Asylum, Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, Uncharted 4, Ghost of Tsushima, Metal Gear Solid 5, FF7 Remake, Far Cry 6, 5, 4, and 3, Call of Duty New Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Ghost, Call of Duty Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, and Call of Duty World at War, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Raccoon City, Operation Raccoon City, Resident Evil 6, 5, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and Resident Evil 3 Remake. That's 40 games total, and I reviewed them. Out of those 40 games, 16 of them are first-person shooter games. Of those 16 first-person shooter games, one collector's edition featured the protagonist, 3 featured antagonists, and 12 featured stuff. So inanimate things like gear, masks, stuff. Things that are like non-character representatives of something that's featured in the game. And then that obviously left 24 other games, which were, for the most part, third-person perspective games. And of those 24, 13 of them featured the protagonist, 0 featured antagonists, and 11 featured stuff. Again, so the strongest representation of the first-person shooter games were by your Call of Duties and your Far Cries. And the third-person perspectives were represented most by, actually, again, from the games that I selected, by Resident Evil games and Sony-branded games, first-party games for Sony. So I came up with a couple of observations about it. So the selection of Collector's Edition physical tat, what I like to refer to it as physical tat, is interesting in that it does suggest a bit of a focal point of what the game is trying to feature. And again, that makes sense. These things are not selected at random. They don't just throw darts at a board and say, okay, what is our Collector's Edition going to feature? And then, no, they pick those things for a very strong reason. And featuring characters, in general, outside of the whole, what is actually in a collector's edition, featuring characters in any regard suggests a story focus on those characters in particular, while featuring stuff, things that are non-characters, suggests a focus on gameplay, as in we're going to be using this stuff in the game that kind of makes the game fun and unique. And I found it interesting how for the third-person games, this is about a 50% split between character and stuff. But for the first person games, by far, it's almost all stuff focused on in these first person games. So games like Call of Duty and Far Cry, while those types of games may not have featured the best stories in the world, they certainly engage the player in a more visceral, player in the game or in the moment mechanical experience that kind of nullified the need for characterization or narrative, because the player, him or herself, is meant to inhabit that first person perspective. Games like Resident Evil and the Sony branded third person perspectives, for the most part, have been noted for great character driven stories and for interesting gameplay mechanics. Again, to make them unique, make them stand apart from their competition. And I just found that very interesting, how the physical focal points, the figurines, the statuettes, the patches, the maps, the tats that are included in some of these collector's editions kind of mirror what's important in the games. So the trends that I've kind of surmised is that the third-person games tend to feature characters over things, and the first-person games feature things over characters. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the third-person games featuring characters are strictly going to deliver a focused, narrative-driven, character-driven kind of experience, and gameplay is a secondary thing, and vice versa. But it's just an interesting trend to identify and discuss. So what can we infer with the most recent demo reveals of Resident Evil 8, and they also revealed what the actual collector's edition for that was going to be. And for Resident Evil 8 The Village, it's going to feature Chris Redfield, who, according to the trailer footage, seems to be an antagonist for a game that is going to be a first-person shooter game. So, based on the 40-game case study that I just did, what does this mean for Resident Evil 8 The Village? Well, it seems that this game is going to represent a very extreme oddity that is bucking trends based on everything that I've observed so far. If it's an FPS, a first-person shooter collector's edition showcasing a character, that tends to suggest a game that leans into characterization and therefore a stronger story, right? However, of the 40 games sampled, only 3 featured antagonists, and they were all first-person shooters, and they were all Far Cry games. Mm-hmm. Notable for their irrelevant protagonists, meandering stories, but fun villains and environments. Trailer footage of Resident Evil 8 seems to confirm a bit of an irrelevant protagonist, fun villains, and fun environments. It remains to be seen whether or not the story will meander or represent a weaker aspect of the game overall. Only time will tell, but it won't necessarily be shocking if the story winds up being the weakest link, if there's any truth to this model that I laid out right here. Again, so this is not meant to be a predictive model for a game's ultimate quality or potential in any regard. However, it is interesting in identifying trends based solely on the physical tat of a collector's edition combined with general knowledge of that game's perspective. Third person, first person, RPG, action, adventure, simulation. It's just something to think about. And I'm wondering if the panel has any thoughts in regards to that. Specifically, how it may or may not pertain to Resident Evil 8, The Village.
Genesis, I will defer to you.
Okay. So first, I mean, when it comes to, I'm gonna specifically pick out like the Sony platform and their games and their collector's editions and how they go off on how they make the correlation between what they put in the collector's edition to what focus they have in the game. I mean, one of the best collector's editions that ever sold was the Last of Us collector's edition, which I think if you still have a sealed copy till this day, I think it still sells for immense amounts and
A
still
lot,
sells
yeah.
for quite a bit of money. Um,
The Ellie and Joel statuette.
yes, yeah, and they tend to give that extra detail or that extra effort to make those collector's editions just stand out among the rest. Now, to go to your point of Resident Evil 8, like I've seen, if I'm comparing it to the older collector's editions that I've seen from all the other Resident Evil games, um, they're very
I'll give you
similar.
I'll give you a quick
Yeah.
rundown. So Resident Evil 7 featured the Plantation Mansion
Uh-huh.
physical statuette. Operation Raccoon City featured patches and a bunch of really dumb stuff. Resident Evil 6 had a number of different collector's editions. One featured Leon's leather jacket. One, a smaller version, featured that syringe bomb, that thing that just shot out a whole bunch of anti BOW stuff.
Yep.
And one of them actually featured the Umbrella Corporation umbrella, which is unfortunately the one I got because I really loved the novelty of owning an Umbrella Corporation umbrella, which I use to this day. It's a strong umbrella. It's made out of pretty good quality material, and it's holding up, and it's a great thing to have for the rain. Resident Evil 5 featured a whole bunch of stuff, but also a Chris Redfield statuette. Resident Evil 2 Remake featured a Leon statuette, and Resident Evil 3 Remake also featured a Jill statuette.
So coming from all those, there, for me, it still feels like they're going to be putting a emphasis on how they portray, especially now Chris Redfield, since from the trailers it looks like he's an antagonist. Obviously we don't know the full details and all that, but from what we've seen and everything like that, um, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be still portrayed pretty well as far as what they're aiming for when they're putting what they're putting in this collector's edition. Um, you know, when I make comparisons from like what Resident Evil puts in theirs collector's editions to like what, for example, Bethesda puts in theirs, they've had a lot of controversies for what they've put in, and people argue that even though their games are regarded as I don't know if I want to say high quality games, but I think I should say games that people anticipate because they're brands that people want, like the Fallout, the Elder Scrolls, and all that. They, their quality of their games, even though they put a huge emphasis on everything that they have detail wise in the game for making choices and, narrative wise, story wise, and all that, they don't seem to hold up very well compared to what they put in their collector's editions, like their Pip-Boy edition, which I
They're
think
yeah,
I've
they're
seen. I've had it and I've seen it, and then their 76, the one with the bag that everybody was like, "What is this garbage?"
well, the canvas bag and the helmet. The
Yeah,
power
the
armor
helmet too.
helmet.
Yep, yep.
So absolutely, the Fallout collector's editions have definitely been the types of collector's editions that are more elaborate than your standard fare collector's edition, and
Mm-hmm.
for interesting reasons. I mean, like that Pip-Boy was a very interesting kind of novelty accessory that added a new layer of functionality to your cell phone to make it look as like a functioning Pip-Boy on your wrist, and that's a really neat thing to think about.
But there were even defects with that one too. There were some people
Right.
who received ones that didn't fit properly, ones that didn't work properly.
Hmm.
And at one point, I think they didn't have enough to fulfill all the orders that they originally made. Um, I
Well,
know
that's a
as
faux pas
well.
on the company. I mean,
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
that's just them not being able to execute their what at the time seemed like a well-conceived idea.
right. I don't know how much correlation you can have though with. I guess we're heading down a trend. I want to say of seeing a lot of these collector's editions coming out first, and then people wanting you to buy. You know, the companies want you to buy everything that they show off, and the game just not living up to what it's supposed to be. Like there was a $280 collector's edition of Cyberpunk 2077 that had the I think V as the statue in there,
Yep.
and a bunch
V was the
of
statue.
Yep,
On
a
his
bunch
bike.
of different little things that they had in there. The box was giant. Like I seen the size of this thing. It was huge. It was real big.
Right.
And if we go back a couple of years for the same company, they did the Witcher collector's edition, which the Witcher game was very, very well received. But I don't think it was the third one. I think it was the second one that had a problem, where some of the statues of Geralt's face just did not look good. Some of them look bad. Some of them look good. Some of them were warped. I mean, and that's going back. So I don't know if I can make 100% correlation with saying, hey, you know, obviously you want to do your research, you want to be careful of what you see. Can you make 100% correlation with what collector's editions are out there versus what the game's quality or what the game is trying to portray in those are going to be?
So you may be misinterpreting what I'm trying to say here a little bit. I'm not necessarily talking about the quality of the actual stuff you're getting in the collector's edition. I'm talking about the fact that whether or not a protagonist or an antagonist or stuff is the feature of the collector's edition, what that is going to say about the final game product, and that is kind of like what I'm really trying to go for here.
So again, I guess if there's more stuff, you might be inclined to see that the game is not going to give you that, I guess, quality that you're looking for. But if it's on a protagonist or an antagonist, it's going to be more focused on, hey, this is what we want you to focus on.
Well, it's not meant. It's also not really meant to make a statement on quality either, but it's meant to kind of again, my supposition is that when a game chooses to feature Voss in Far Cry 3, and the collector's edition for that was Voss as a bobblehead. So that's an interesting decision to make. Number one, it takes a very psychotic, brutal villain in a game, kind of makes it a little bit of a joke, but it's also still pulling focus on the antagonist in a game, which, again, is an interesting choice, but in a way makes sense for the Far Cry license for that franchise, because the main characters that the player plays is irrelevant. It's fill in the blank. And the world and the villains that are messing it up, that is what's interesting about the story in Far Cry games. So it makes sense that they would make that kind of decision regarding the focal point of their collector's edition, to feature that antagonist. And it would be something different if it wasn't a pattern of behavior for those games, but it is a pretty consistent pattern of behavior for those games. Same thing for the Call of Duty games. Call of Duty games feature nothing but
stuff,
really involved military replica stuff. One of the most popular ones was that Black Ops 2 one where they give you the drone. It was the quadcopter drone that came in that big.
They do like a Juggernaut edition for the third Black Ops, which gave you like a mini fridge or something like that.
Right. Yeah. So again, stuff. And again, we know. I mean, some of the most educated consumers out there, the ones that really read all the reviews and they watch the videos and they try to, get all the information they can of a game prior to the launch. They don't need to necessarily be told this particular information, but I think it's just an additional thing to consider when trying to predict for yourself what the final game is really going to be all about, if you don't have all the information that you think you might need to pull the trigger on a transaction. So for me, I look at a game and I'm trying to pull focus right back to Resident Evil 8. For me, I look at Resident Evil 8, and I have nothing but questions about it. I still to this very day feel that it is not representative of of the Resident Evil license, their brand, or what made that game a thing in the first place. I'm confused even further by the fact that Chris Redfield is now an antagonist, but not the main villain, apparently. Uh, but who knows? Mystery surrounds. But the fact that he, as this antagonist that is kidnapping babies, apparently, is the focal point of that game's collector's edition makes me raise an eyebrow even further. It continues to assert my irrelevancy for Ethan Winters, the protagonist of both 7 and now 8. He's an even less important character this whole process in the first place. And I think maybe this would have been a nice moment for them to say, hey, let's expand the significance of Ethan. But no, at least not. It's not represented in the collector's edition. I would have liked to have seen that maybe, because maybe that would have made me connect more to the protagonist of a video game. And again, it is a game as opposed to a film or a TV show where the characterization of a protagonist is not necessarily as important. You know, for TV shows and whatnot and other mediums than it is for a game, because the player is inhabiting that role. They are the one who's facilitating the action, so they don't necessarily need like backstory or motivation or sympathy, because they are the stand-in for that role. But for me, as a gamer, I'm looking for layers of motivation to get into a game. It can't just be about action. Otherwise, I'll just invest my time purely on Twitch shooters, and it can't just be on story alone, because then I'll just sink my teeth into interactive dramas, and those aren't necessarily as fun as just a well-rounded game. And I'm not necessarily sure that based on Resident Evil 8's collector's edition is the type of game for me, just based on that. And again, it seems as though the demo footage kind of supports it a little bit. Again, it's not a proof positive situation. And again, it's not meant to be a predictive model that you can take to the bank. It's just thinking about trends.
Food for thought.
And a little food for thought. And it seems fairly accurate for what these games show in their final showing. I don't know. Adam, any thoughts on that? I mean, you've collected a collector's edition or two in your time.
I have a bunch. I'm looking at them now. Fun little thing. When you were talking about the umbrella, I thought of the hat from Infamous Second Son. I wear that in the winter. It's my main hat.
That's
Delson's
right.
beanie.
Nice.
So,
Delson's beanie.
Very
and it came
comfortable.
with a jacket, like a little jacket for the game case, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I got I don't have the game anymore. I borrowed it to somebody, and I have no idea where it is.
Oh dear.
It's okay. But yeah, I collect collector's editions. I've run out of space, so I don't get them too much anymore. I appreciate the research you did. I don't know if there's any correlation. So far, it just seems to be more based on marketing and trends. What else?
But the collector's editions are a part of the marketing.
Yeah.
They're linked to that. They're
Yeah, I don't think it really says anything about the game, honestly.
I think a good example of like what Adam's saying is like the Ghost of Tsushima Collector's Edition just had a mask in it. Like that's just things in there. There's a mask in there. There's a stand for the mask. There's I think a handkerchief in there as well, or some cloth in there, and I think was it a shuriken in there? No,
I don't know.
there's something else in there. I can't remember.
But not a shuriken. But yeah, so the Sakai mask was the featured thing for the Ghost of Tsushima one.
Right. I don't know how much that would say about
Well, you're the
the
ghost.
game itself.
Getting that mask
That
is a big moment in the game. I know Giuseppe's not there yet, but
right. You wouldn't know that until you play the game, though. Like just somebody who sees that as
what?
a marketing part of it, right? You
Yeah,
wouldn't you wouldn't think
yeah.
much of
That
it
that
to your
mask
point.
is all on the marketing, and it's the logo of the game, and it's the loading screen. Like it's a lot. Like the God of War one I have is Kratos and Boy killing like two demons or whatever
Hmm.
they are, the trolls, whatever they're called, I forget. Um, and like it's cool. I guess it shows the relationship of Kratos and Boy, so I guess
Hmm.
it makes sense to put them in there. You can tell it's a single player focused game on them, but I don't. It's hard for me to see a collector's edition and go, I get what's going on with this game. I can make some assessments on what's happening here. I'm curious. How did you choose these 40?
I was really going for like based on general memory, thinking about games in the past that had some showy collector's editions, like the Fallout ones, ones that featured some really neat looking statuettes. But again, I was really thinking about in terms of like some of the bigger games, the ones that like when you think about, oh well, these are some of the biggest games of the past, so that means they must have had collector's editions to them too. Um, but it was really like at the end of it all, it really like I funneled towards Resident Evil because they had just put out all of that media footage of it, and then I had happened upon a link showing the RE8 collector's edition, and I'm like, huh. So they're choosing to focus on Chris Redfield. Hmm. Like not even Vampire Lady, and
Man, if they
obviously
made a
not
collector's edition of
not the
Vampire Lady,
castle.
that would have sold off the shelf.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
but it would have to be huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a large lady, but also not the castle, and of course not Ethan Winters.
I
So
don't
You
think they
don't
would
look at
make
Ethan
one
Winters.
Ethan ever. Yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah,
never
I
see
know,
Ethan Winter's face.
that's my point. That's kind of like the
If you
point that I'm
see,
trying
you're
to
saying if you seen
draw.
it, you would have made a better connection to say, okay, they're trying to get me to want to like this protagonist or understand what his purpose is in the game.
So again,
But
now
be,
I know. So for me, and again, I know this is not the same for everybody, but for me, I need to have some kind of connection to the main character that I'm playing in a game. Even if that's a character that I'm 100% fabricating, because then at that point I'm actually having agency in the construction of the character. Even something that's a little bit more basic in terms of like something like a character creator in Bloodborne is a very basic situation. It's not nearly as elaborate as some in other games, but that I can accept a silent protagonist in a situation like that because now I've actually taken part in the construction of it. I don't care for the generally silent protagonists of certain first person shooters where it's just you are meant to inhabit character X and then go. Um, and I just I while I understand the general setup for Ethan Winters in Seven to be a sympathetic main character that the player controls because they have a pretty basic kind of like rescue mission scenario, which that is something that most people will be on board with, but there doesn't first person perspectives don't they don't do the characters, or at least the main character, any favors at all because you never see them, and that's a big thing for me when I want to engage in a game. Like it gives me that additional uh, level and motivation to play, to keep on playing. Like, what's the point? It's like I don't turn on a game and I'm jumping into, okay, well, who am I going to be today? I'm going to be Master Chief fighting off, aliens and blah, blah, blah. No, I mean, I'm going to be playing. My outlook is I'm playing Master Chief, shooting these aliens, trying to save Earth, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. So for me, connection with the main character, and again, that's my history and influence to cinema and television and audiovisual entertainment at work. That's a conscious and subconscious behavioral thing that's going on for me. I definitely recognize it. But I want to have that connection with those kind of games. And based on the list that I've compiled, just about every game that features stuff over character, and again, it's not 100% of the time. Again, case in point, the Sakai mask for Ghost of Tsushima. But on the flip side of that, there was also Corvo's mask in Dishonored 2. And Corvo and the characterization in both Dishonored games is a whole bunch of trash. So, so there are trends. Again, it's not a rule. It's not. If you're looking for 100% certainty, you're not going to find it here. But I believe the trends hold up to what the game ultimately, reveals, or basically, what it reveals beyond the marketing, the hype, the advertising, and the promises. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, this is what you're really going to get. You're going to get deep dive character narratives, or you're going to get very shallow stuff. But hey, look at all these action set pieces that you got to shoot and run through and run away from and blah blah blah. So yeah, I think again, and that's knowing that the choices for what is actually in these collector's editions, they're all very conscious choices. Again, some of them may be very, very, inconsequential, like, maps or posters or stickers or some kind of nonsense like that. It's just like very basic stuff. But the things that's meant to be like the real eye-catching stuff, the stuff that you're going to be featuring on a shelf somewhere to showcase your love of games, and games in particular, or games in general, those are very conscious choices by the people who call the shots. And just based on that alone, that should be drawing attention to what's really important in the game. So to me, Resident Evil 8 suggests that Chris Redfield is probably going to be the linchpin of the entire story. Ethan Winters, nothing. Big Vampire Lady, nothing. Her creepy daughters, nothing. Even the person that she's talking to on that phone, whatever her name is, nothing. It's all about Chris Redfield, and that's the one thing that I probably bet the bank on that for Resident Evil 8, because he just seems to be the linchpin, and I really want to know if these guys have a really good idea for explaining why Luke Skywalker is suddenly going to be running the Galactic Empire, or the First Order, or the Second Order, or whatever you want to call them, at the drop of a hat, spontaneously.
Blue something? Isn't that what they're called?
I don't know. What are they
Blue
called?
something?
Z?
I don't know.
Blue?
Genesis?
No.
Blue? Umbrella Blue?
Blue something.
They're called something else.
Blue Moon? Blue Monday?
I'll get back to you on that one.
Well, regardless of that, it's just an interesting choice. Again, it's nice to see that I focusing on maybe Blue Umbrella. There it is. Blue Umbrella.
Nailed it.
So I don't know.
Screw you guys.
It'll be interesting to see what it comes out. I would love to see what it winds up being. Resident Evil 8. My feeling is it's going to be much more similar to 7 than anyone thinks. It's nice to see those really interesting characters. I mean, although I cannot condone the twilighting of Resident Evil 8 by this current new wave of that franchise, the giant vampire lady does seem very intimidating. Just watching her bow
Listen, people are
through,
fascinated by her. People are fascinated by this woman.
She's giant. I'm amazed that she even has the dexterity to bow down through doorways in order to get through them.
There are a lot of there are a
I
lot
don't
of
know. I don't know.
I can't say the word, but there
No,
are
no,
a lot
no,
of
no, no. Move on.
of
Move
those
on. Let's just move on.
looking for this for this. They're thirsty for this vampire.
The thirst factor is definitely real. There's no doubt.
Yeah, they're thirsty for the vampire. Which one of the vampires is actually Amanda Seyfried. I didn't even know that. Somebody pointed that out on the Reddit. I was like, I didn't even know that.
Really?
And then the guy, what's his name? Oh man, I had the name up. I should have kept the name up. I didn't get the guy's name, but
The merchant, the vendor.
no, not the big fat guy. The other one. The one with the hat, the beard.
Yeah.
That guy with the hammer.
Yeah.
Hammer.
Yes, that guy. That
Krabs.
guy. Yes. Yep. Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, it looks exactly
Mr.
like him.
Krabs.
Every time I see him, I'm like, oh, that's Mr. Krabs. Hank, what are you doing here? I think in summation for your topic, how I feel about this is I think you need to do more research with more games and go on like sales numbers and like talk about their marketing and stuff. So, for me to be convinced that the collector's editions mean anything about the games.
Well, I'm not. I don't know what sales numbers are going to do to any of this because that's not. I'm not using this information to identify which games are best selling. I'm using this information to identify what the focal point of the end product of the game is. So it's really about evaluating tastes and trends as opposed to numbers. Again, it's not meant to identify any semblance of quality. It's not a ranking or a rating system. It's meant to say, hey, look, this is the type of game that's really sitting beneath the surface of all the marketing, all the advertising, all the promises, all the hype. At the end of the day, this is the game that you're getting. You're going to get a Call of Duty game, or you're going to get generic first-person shooter game, and you're getting a really weird golden grenade as your physical tat, a part of the collector's edition. Chances are that means you're not going to get very much of a story, you're not going to get much characters, but chances are you're going to get a whole lot of weird, funky stuff that means perhaps gameplay is going to be just about all you get with this game. As opposed to Game X, which features a ninja wielding a flaming sword in left hand and an electric sword in the other hand. And chances are that means, wow, it's a strange, mysterious, dangerous ninja type. We're going to want to know who this person is, what they're all about, and why is a ninja using flaming sword and electricity sword? Is it a techno? Is it a futuristic techno thing, or is it just like a supernatural ancient thing going on there? I'm really interested. I'm going to get into that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about here. I don't know what sales numbers are going to do to any. I don't believe that's going to add anything to this model at all.
So the reason I said sales number was because I feel like you're working backwards. We're going by the collector's editions, and I think the marketing leads to the collector's editions. But it's the game that leads to the marketing, which leads to the collector's editions. So it's just like there's just not enough games here for me to make a correlation. Like, oh, this has a protagonist in the collector's edition. That means it's a story-driven game. Pretty sure Red Dead 2 didn't have a protagonist in the collector's edition. And it was just.
And again, it's not meant to be 100% of the time. But look at the trends overall. The numbers
with
overall.
40 biased games picked by you because you remembered them. That's what I'm saying. There's just not enough data here for me to say there's a correlation.
More data.
Need more data. Because you left out more than 40 games, not that you would pick.
Give me a number.
Give me 250 games.
That's baloney.
Okay, give me 200 games.
That's.
Give me a number then.
200 games?
How many do you want to do?
I'll get you your 200 games.
200 games, and they're games that you didn't have to play them all, but you have to do the research on it for me to be like, okay, I see your correlation.
200 games. So it's the numbers again for Mr. Adam. I'm going
Data.
to tell you right
Data.
now.
More
I'm gonna
data.
tell you right now. Both of you are going to just eat crow because this expanded numbers are going to do nothing more but confirm what I've already laid out here in this small.
I give it a 8 out of 10. Too much data.
See, it's fine if it confirms it, but the games you've collected, there's just not a significant correlation for me to be like, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Because in Arkham Origins, the antagonist, the Joker, he's the statue.
Uh-huh.
But he doesn't have much to do with Arkham Origins?
No, he does.
Oh.
But your antagonist argument was...
And Arkham Asylum was a Batarang.
Yeah, and Arkham City was Batman. And Arkham Knight was the Batmobile, and, well, that never happened. And then whatever the heck the other one was.
Came out.
Well, no, it just
another
didn't happen
Batman.
for you.
No, another
It just didn't
Batman.
happen for you.
No, the Batmobile was canceled for everybody.
Well,
yeah.
No, you can buy them on eBay, because the company that made them went out of business, and they still kept some, and then they sold them to people. Now you can buy them for like $400. I thought about it. I didn't.
Yeah, that's too much money.
It's way too much money. Family show.
Damn, that's way too much money.
Family show.
well,
200 games data. Get on it, Giuseppe.
Oh, I'm getting on it like right now. Yeah, I'll get on it right now.
Awesome. Adam, what you got?
What do I got? Oh, man. I got a couple things. First things first. We got 3 games that we've added to the list. Let me just switch inputs real quick. I need your ratings on some games, boys and girls. Don't think about that too hard.
Others?
All right.
Whatever you are watching.
The first game is a game where the release date was actually just announced today. First game is Biomutant. Giuseppe, what's your rating for Biomutant?
65.
65. Genesis.
Is that the one with the mouse? Is that the one?
I do not know.
Yeah, that is the one with the mouse rat-looking thing.
Yeah.
67.
67. Number one fan said 82. Chris is also a friend of the show. He said 70. I said 74.
Oh, wow. So
Genesis. Breath of the Wild 2. This is probably not coming out this year, but it's rumored for this year. So, Breath of the Wild 2. What do you want to give it?
95.
95. Giuseppe. Breath of the Wild 2.
90.
90. Wow, okay. Number one fan said 91. Chris also said 90. I also went with a 95. Genesis, so good for you. And then the one I'm surprised I forgot, Destruction All-Stars. It's coming out in February for PlayStation Plus. It was originally supposed to come out in November. With the launch of the PlayStation 5 for $70. Giuseppe, what are you giving Destruction All-Stars?
80.
Genesis, Destruction All-Stars.
82.
82. Number one fan said 58. He has very high hopes for the game. Yeah. And then Chris, he said 65. I said 68. So.
Oh, I think it's not that bad.
All right. Those were the 3 games we needed to add so far. Just a little hint. Number one fan, he's in the lead. Because I Hitman. So.
Oh, yeah. What did he say for Hitman?
It's currently at an 88. He gets to 90, so he's only 2 points off. The next closest person is you, Genesis, because you said 82, so you're only 6 points off.
Okay.
So, everyone else is a little bit more than that. It's still all very close, because we didn't guess too far away from each other. There's some games that'll get it more out there, but we'll see. Also, the Medium comes out later this week. 2 days, and I think number one fan told me that the embargo lifts tomorrow, so we should have an idea of what that's going to be and who's in the lead there. I don't really have a topic this week, and which is fine because Giuseppe's went a little long. I figured it would because I knew it would spark a conversation. But I wanted to talk about one thing, and then I have another thing after if I feel like it. I want to talk about this is not really a topic for you guys to jump in. This is me just complaining about Game Pass Ultimate and how much of a horrible process that is to set up.
I still can't believe this.
So as you two know, I have a PC. I don't use it that often because I'm lazy and they don't have trophies. I know they have achievements, but I don't care. But I was like, you know what? I've been craving some Forza, and I was like, let me just sign up for Game Pass Ultimate. So I signed up for Game Pass, just regular Game Pass, which is $10 a month for PC. But when you sign up for it, it's $1 for your first month, and then $10 every month after. So I signed up for it, and then I was like, you know what? I want Game Pass Ultimate. And the deal for Game Pass Ultimate is $1 for your first month, then you get 2 months free, and then it's $15 every month after. And that also includes EA access and like some other perks and stuff. And it also works in a way of Plus where you get discounts on games that are in the Game Pass library, which I didn't know. That's actually a feature I didn't know about. I don't know if you get those when you have the games with gold. I don't know if there's some game like that also gives you a discount. I honestly don't know too much about it.
100% sure. I could research that though.
Yeah, if you can, that would be much appreciated. So I now have Game Pass Ultimate for 4 months because it counted that first month and the 3 months as all Ultimate now because I upgraded, and I paid $2 for 4 months. And on May 26th, I have to cancel it if I don't want to use it, because then it will start charging me $15 a month. I downloaded not Gran. Oh my, it's 7. It's Forza Motorsport 7. I downloaded that, and the process of downloading it and getting everything, everyone knows connecting Microsoft and a password to everything sucks. Well, I've complained about it with the Minecraft stuff. It's annoying. It's not a great process. Microsoft, please. If you set up your Microsoft account on your PC with an email address you no longer have access to, but then you update your email address, it still always keeps your old email address, and you can't change it unless you have access to the old email address. And I'm not calling
Microsoft,
them.
please.
Yeah.
Please
so
shut down Microsoft.
It was a process. It was an annoying process, and then I found that if you're downloading a game through the Xbox app on your PC, it limits the download for some reason to around 20 megabytes per second. And that's annoying. And I found, after some Googling, I found a guy who said how to go into like your PC settings and you can change it even though the setting is grayed out. So I had to do some stuff. I had to do a run. I had to run some program and open it up. And then I got it downloading at like 60 megabytes a second, but then it would kind of go back and forth. So for like the 90 gigs of Forza Motorsport 7, it took about an hour and a half to download. So it wasn't terrible, but I know my PC can do much more than that. So that was an annoying process. I also downloaded...
They would limit the amount of download speed you'd have.
I don't know.
For, like, just bandwidth purposes?
I honestly have no idea. It says nowhere in there that it's limiting it, that I know of. Also, if you download games from the Windows Store, which you can, apparently it's faster anyways. So I'm going to have to start doing that. I don't understand how that process works, but whatever. I also downloaded Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. I've always wanted to play that. Didn't really want the trophies. Even though I hear it's not terrible. I just didn't want to work at it. But I downloaded that. Haven't tried it yet. But I'm going to have like an ongoing review series of how Game Pass Ultimate is like going. So far, at $2, I've already played one game. It's already paid for itself. So I ain't super mad about it. So we'll see. Maybe I'll try the Medium. That's on Game Pass when it comes out. So, because
you can play it on PC as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what I wanted to just chat about real quick. I really don't have much use for it yet. As we go through, the listing and like the searching is kind of but it's also on PC, and I'm not like the most skilled PC user, so that could just be user error. But I'll talk more and more about this as the weeks go on. And I'll probably still be on PlayStation throughout the week. This is more to you guys. I'll probably still be on PlayStation. I'll just be playing on PC, but I'll be listening to like Spotify through PlayStation just to chat with my homies, you know. But yeah, that's kind of really all I had to say. I was gonna talk about like some other stuff, but honestly, I just don't feel like it. And I didn't think about it enough. Similar to last week, I just didn't think of a topic at all, and I feel like we've had enough with this stuff, and we could probably jump right into rumors if you want, Genesis.
All right.
Yes.
What do I got? What do I got? The internet speaking to me in tongues in my ear.
What? I don't think that's the internet. I want to get this.
All right. So, I'm gonna start off. So I've done a bit more digging for a lot of these rumors, just so I have proper rumors this week. I apologize for last week's rumors. I don't think they were that good. I got feedback as well that they were not that good.
Ooh.
So the first one I'm gonna go with here is this is about a game that actually is very near and dear to me. Apparently, through Reset Era, NAFTRA, this person has correctly predicted a lot of Sony stuff that was shown at last year's showcase. Is predicting Death Stranding Extended Edition coming to PlayStation 4 and 5. This one is apparently two different versions. One for the PS4, which will have extended content, and then the PS5 version will have the enhancements along with extended content. If there is an upgrade path, it'll probably be a paid one. It would probably be a patch for anybody who currently owns the PS4 version just to get the PS5 enhancements, but for the additional content, you probably have to pay more to get that. But a lot of the opinions that I've read on this half say I don't know if I can play it a second time, and the other half says I really want to play this again and go through with more content. Myself personally, I mean, the only thing I'd want them to add more to the story is probably just more on Cliff's character overall, and just with overall better multiplayer content to put into the game. Those are my only two asks if they're going to add any additional stuff in here. For a PS5 version, I would absolutely take that, plug that game right back in, and spend another 90 hours in that game and build roads and deliver stuff and do what I got to do if I had the chance to do that again. Would my heart be able to take the story again? I don't know. I have the same feeling with Last of Us, and I have the same feeling with maybe just Last of Us, actually. Never mind. Any thoughts on that, guys?
I could do with less walking.
Yeah, but the walking is the whole integral part of it. When you start walking in that game, it's the journey that you start. That's the whole thing. If you take the walking out of it, it's like, what's the point?
I could still do with less walking.
Oh God. Any thoughts, Adam?
I mean, this is cool for people who like the game. You said it might be paid?
Might be a paid upgrade for the additional content. No confirmation on that. Just this again. This is just more Reset Era stuff coming out, which they've been. I want to say I'll give them like 60, 65%, 70% credibility for some of the things. There's a good chunk, like a 30 to 25% that they have no idea what they're talking about. But there possibly could be like a free upgrade for anybody who owns the game to get the better graphics on the PS5. And then if you want the additional content, you can upgrade your version for probably, I would say, $10. I don't think it's going to be anything more than that.
The game's been out for 2 years.
Yeah, and then PC took off even more with it. A lot of people enjoyed it on PC, and
yeah, but that update's not even coming to PC according to the rumor. So
yeah, no, it's just the PlayStation. Because remember,
that's surprising. That's surprising. I would have thought that was going to go for PC.
Well, it would make sense because doesn't Sony still have like a thing with this, like especially with Kojima as well? Like I mean, wasn't it 505 Games did the one for PC, and then his studio did the one for PS4?
Yeah, I honestly do not know.
I think so.
I'll have to look at that. I'll have to double check that. But okay. Next one. So this is get more towards Back for Blood, Gotham Knights, things like that. This is actually a article off of IGN, and I guess I don't know how much they speculate on rumors and stuff like that, but this is just them talking according to interviews that they've had. Um, I guess Warner Brothers wants to have a heavy focus on live service games, Back for Blood, Hogwarts Legacy, things like that they're doing, as well as Gotham Knights. It from what it sounds like and it seems like, they want to have a very, very big focus on these, but it's very hard to understand why they're going to want to do this, especially after seeing Anthem, Avengers, Destiny, these big live service, like hyped up titles just not delivering on the mark. And we didn't get 100% confirmation on Hogwarts being a live service game, because I don't think they said it was going to be a live service game, but they didn't
Details
specify
are
it
still
wasn't
very
going to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Details are still very thin.
Back for Blood, that's not is that a live service game?
No, I don't think so.
No.
That should just
Okay.
be an online multiplayer. Neither is Gotham
Okay.
Knights, though.
So, right, and they're using these as the examples in the original article that they're talking about here on IGN. I don't know. I guess my only opinion on this would be I hope if they're going to do something like this, or if they're going to put their focus in something like that, tread lightly when you're going to do that, because, like I said before, you have Anthem, you have Avengers, you have Destiny. The three big ones that were supposed to do these amazing numbers, they all failed pretty badly.
I would not call
Yeah.
Destiny a failure, but okay.
Well, I mean,
Definitely is. Definitely is. I don't care if sales are up for the game. I mean, for a long while in the game, even when 2 came out, up until I believe the latest expansion, which introduced the darkness into the game, where you can control the power of the dark, it was just all garbage. It just wasn't what people wanted, and the population's only been going back up ever since the latest, or the second to last one came out, Shadowkeep. When that came out, people were like, okay, I'm getting back into this. But for overall, I think I don't know. Giuseppe, any thoughts on that?
well, I mean, I I'm just not a big Destiny guy. So
Oh no,
for me,
overall with
like,
the live service stuff too, but
but that's just the thing. I mean, the live service model, I believe, I think it's more than fair to say that the live service model, when introduced into the makeup of any game product these days, is going to suck the oxygen out of the room for any level of creativity, gameplay, narrative, characterization, cool things that people want to see in games. It's going to suck all the oxygen out of the room of that, and it's going to dictate everything that happens in the game in terms of what's there, what's not there, the potential. It really does pigeonhole everything into this very defined space, and specifically through pay gating, through microtransactions, through all kinds of shenanigans that people don't want to see in AAA games that they pay, a significant entry fee in the first place.
especially with some of these games going up to $70 now.
Right. So if these companies love this live service model moving forward, they have to make a choice to make the game free at the get-go, because there's no way this is going to be a sustainable model for the kinds of numbers they expect their sales to be at. And not just that, the initial sales, that's just like your launch point. That's just like your seed money almost. The real money is how you get your quote unquote recurrent user spending, and how you do that, you ensure that, is by keeping your player base engaged. And if your game is junk, nobody's going to play it. and nor are they going to keep playing it. And there are many reasons what contributes to a game being junk. Again, it could be the graphics, it could be the gameplay, it could be the response time, it could be the hitboxes, it could be all kinds of things that are happening in the game, but also as many things that are happening surrounding the game. And all of the ick of live service modeling, that's a big outer wall the kaijus to climb over and get at the good stuff at the meaty center. So I got big problems with live service models. I don't believe any game has really found no game has struck a really good balance between what's fair for the consumer and still what's profitable for the company. It's going to be a mess, and it's only going to get messier moving forward.
Okay.
There's a lot of live service games I feel that we're ignoring.
Those are the only three that come to my mind. If you do see any of the ones, let me know, obviously, and we can make.
Would Fortnite not be a live service game? Or World of Warcraft? Or Path of Exile?
World of Warcraft is a live. That's games.
So that's
Fortnite. I don't know if it is.
I feel like those would be like a good
successful
balance.
Live service games.
Yeah, successful, and people say good balance.
I guess if you're using those examples, yes. Then if they tread lightly like those, maybe then they would do better. But
Warcraft is now free to play, right?
It might be.
I don't know.
Warcraft.
The answer is
a
no.
Time ago, it's not free to play. So it's a subscription.
So you still have to buy. You still have to. You have to pay a subscription, or you got to buy a base game.
You may have to do both still. I'm not sure, but again, World of Warcraft became a thing because it basically represented the thing that every company wanted. It wanted everybody buying a significant amount of cash towards their product up front, so they're getting immediate returns on sales, and it's getting that consistent recurrent spending with a monthly, if not yearly, subscription model that people had to pay in order to play the game. So it represented the ideal for companies. Now, for the consumer, for the player, if they have all the money in the world, if disposable income is not a thing or a consideration for them, cool. They'll pay whatever they want to get whatever experience they want, and it'll be happy for them. I'm just saying, for me personally, that was not a good representation of value at all. Value for game and value for time spent, not at all. And it got even worse when the people that hooked me into World of Warcraft wound up abandoning me only 1 month into my newly started cycle with this game. So, and I was not able to find any, welcoming, friendly guilds or groups that would, help me along, because I still, at that point, didn't really know the true ins and outs of that gameplay. So, and also factoring in the whole, if I spent one day where I didn't play WoW for at least an hour, maybe two, I felt that I was literally just losing money because again, I knew that I was always spending money to keep that game in my active queue, to have it even available for me to play whenever I really felt like playing. So there were a number of times where I felt compelled to play, where I didn't particularly enjoy it at all, and it was more of a chore than pleasure. So no, I don't believe that for me, as a player consumer, the WoW model was not a success at all. Success for the company because it took all my money, but not for me personally because it didn't give me nearly as much fun for the money spent on it.
This also brings up Cyberpunk's multiplayer. Hopefully that's not live service.
Who knows at this point? I wouldn't put it past CD Projekt though to go ahead and go that route.
Do you think that would be live service?
I don't think it would be, but I'm certainly possible.
They could definitely make it happen. And you know how they can make it happen? They honestly would be looking exactly at Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Look at how they monetize their own single player RPG progression. You could max out your character build before even starting like the first mission if you paid enough money into it. And I guarantee you that CD Projekt looked exactly like that and say, hey, we have a very similar kind of character upgrade building RPG system. What if dot dot dot? Guarantee you that idea has definitely been put on their tables, and
I'm sure it
that's
has. I'm sure it has. Yeah.
and not only that, but I'm fairly certain that is on the short list of where their multiplayer ultimately is going to go. I would not be surprised at all.
All right. I got the next one up.
Cool.
This has to do with Resident Evil 4 remake. Apparently, due to Resident Evil 3's remake backlash that they gotten, where a lot of the portions of the original PlayStation game were not included in the remake,
Hmm.
I guess they want to break this down and start it over again, which is probably going to delay this to 2023 now. With the original, I think, estimated date around 2022, so about a year back now. Um, but they're basically going to be using more of Resident Evil 2's um, blueprints here and have something similar to a use for Mr. X in Resident Evil 4. I'm trying to
Really?
remember what type of.
There is no
Yeah,
Mr. X in Resident Evil 4.
there was nothing that chased you in
Well,
Resident
there
Evil
was. Yeah,
4.
there was. It was the giant. The giant. There were sequences where he didn't. Well, he chased you in small spurts, but if you had a rocket launcher, you could one shot him. But again, the rocket launcher was expensive, and again, it only gave you one shot. You really wanted to pick your points to use it, but it did chase you for small bursts, for small sequences, and you could get through it by running away if you didn't have the rocket launcher. But um, but
Right.
that was kind of like the stand-in, and it wasn't nearly as menacing as a
Mr.
Nemesis
X.
or Mr. X because again, it wasn't necessarily about the size of the opposition; it was the confined quarters. And again, this is what giant vampire lady represents in Resident Evil 8. She's a giant, formidable force, but in a very small, contained corridors and in inside spaces. That's what
Hmm.
makes her a dangerous thing. If you're out in the open, well, you've got lots of places to run to, so it's not nearly as threatening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And just to clarify too, they're not specifically saying that they're gonna put like a Mr. X type of thing. They're just comparing it to how they'd use the original idea of changing the blueprints of the original Resident Evil 2 and adding their own little quirks and things, the new features in the story, and adding the little differences between Mr. X's original appearances and things like that. They want to do something similar with RE4, where they're not straying off too far off the path, but they're also adding these new things in that you would not have thought of in the original game.
Uh huh.
Um, if I mean,
Honestly, you know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see them do something special with the merchant from Resident Evil 4 to actually have him be a more significant part of the story because it just
okay,
seemed very, very odd. First of all, that it's only one guy. That doesn't seem very reasonable, seeing how he appears at so many different places. That's number one. But also, number
hmm
two, why have anyone that's a part of this world in which obviously the main character, Leon, is clearly intruding on, but he's also the hero. Why would somebody from that world be assisting the character in a way again that's not dissimilar from, you know, uh, Fatty Salesman in Resident Evil 8, who's doing the same thing for the
I think
main
it's that.
character in
I
that
think
game?
it's the same salesman. He just ate a lot during quarantine, and he just got real heavy.
He developed an eating disorder
I
over
think
the
that's the
years.
thing. I think that's the thing. Going right off of this rumor to the next one, it's going to be a triple head for Resident Evil because I got a next one for Resident Evil 7. This is more of an actual thing that I believe is happening versus a rumor at this point because Xbox actually just got their patch for the next gen upgrade for Resident Evil 7. Um, and now there is talks of the PlayStation 5 getting its own version of it, its own version of the patch. The patch seems to just increase the frame rates of the game, also enhance HDR, give you a bit of, I think, a bit of ray tracing. I have to do my research on the ray tracing because I only saw a couple of comparison screenshots in the Reddit. But people have gotten their hands on the update for it, and this is basically preparing them for 8 because they're saying, hey, you want to wait. You're waiting for 8. We know what you want to do. Here's 7. Your free upgrade for the next gen patch for 7. Here's your way of getting that now and getting this out of the way, and then playing Maiden, and then going right into 8. I have Resident Evil 7 installed. If there is a next gen patch for it, I'll take it because it'll definitely help. I personally would want that. And then the last thing for Resident Evil, like you mentioned before, the collector's editions, there is another collector's edition for Resident Evil Village that includes Chris Redfield's coat. That is $1,800.
Yeah, it's
$1,800. Yeah, collective coat, the statue. I don't know, something else that looks like all the guns that you get in the game. A goat and 2 locks. It looks like. It says Village in Shadows, and yeah, and a nice box that comes along with all that. So
yeah,
that's that.
that's a lot of money to spend on.
It's a lot. That is a lot
on one
of
piece
money.
of clothes.
That is a lot
But
of
hey,
money.
if people got the money, hey, go for it.
Somebody had the money for that Saints Row edition, the $1 million one, because somebody bought it. I don't know who it was, but somebody bought it. But
that's just redonk. To me, that's redonk. But hey, whatever.
move on to the next one here. According to Jason Schreier, Vicarious Visions has been working on a Diablo 2 remake. He tweeted out, I'll pull up the tweet real quick here. In his tweet, he's talking, VV has been working on Diablo 2 remake. Team 1, Blizzard's classic team, was quietly dismantled last fall, including, and this is just news from him, including some insights on, I think, I don't know what WC3 Reforged is, but Warcraft 3 Reforged? Never mind, yeah, Warcraft 3 Reforged. I looked at the bottom, I was like, oh, he tells me. Any thoughts on this?
Oh, it's a shame. Vicarious Visions did the Tony Hawk remaster. So I really thought they were going to carry on that franchise. But whatever, I guess. Apparently they died right after they put that out too. That's
yeah. It wasn't long
sucks.
before they did. But I know you've played. You enjoyed Diablo 2, right, Giuseppe? You played. That was the one you really liked.
Diablo 2 was like my gang, and I spent so much time on PC playing that in college. It was just so much fun. Yeah, it was just so good, and I love the expansions. And honestly, I love the fact that it didn't have like all these pay gating just to getting access to their network just to play. BattleNet was free. I don't know if it's still free or elements of it are free, but man, I love the fact that BattleNet was free, and you can log on, you can play your StarCraft, you can play your Diablo 2. It was great. Yeah, nothing but good memories of Diablo 2.
Any thoughts on a remake coming out for this? Perhaps PlayStation 5, perhaps PC, perhaps Xbox Series X?
So, again, it's very, like, making Diablo games work for a console is again, that's another thing that has not ever really been perfected, because those kind of games really, really are optimized for keyboard and mouse, because you have in those games access to a lot of abilities, a lot of items. So mapping things to hotkeys is essential, and controllers. Again, you're talking about strong limitations. Now, I'm curious as to why nobody's developed a makeshift keyboard USB add-on that can be worked in conjunction with consoles to kind of like accommodate for these types of games that are really optimized for PC based on the physical accessories that PCs have more readily available. If they were just simply brought over to consoles, then that eliminates a lot of the logistics problems of remakes or updates or what have yous, ports to bring those kind of games over to consoles. And I feel like that's one of the things that have never really been addressed. And these types of games have always tried to, finagle some kind of like odd control button mapping system to try to make up for it, but I just don't feel it's just nearly as good as keyboard and mouse, like not even close. So while I like the idea, anything that can bring me back to those good old days of Diablo 2, um, but with a prettier game, with better functionality and network connectivity, but also still find a way to bring it to a console, but give me the control that is almost required with a PC layout with keyboard and mouse. You know, I would love to see some accessories maybe to be released in tandem with that. I mean, there's a box set for you. There's a collector's edition for you right there. Bring your PC Diablo 2 memories home to your home console with, a custom keyboard and mouse that will function as your controller in the game. Again, I don't know if console, um, the makeup of what makes the console hardware go, if that will allow for it or not. But I would love to see them have a shot at it.
I'm like 99% sure you can just attach a keyboard and mouse to your PlayStation.
I'm pretty sure you can for a lot of those. Yeah, you can just take a USB mouse and keyboard and connect it to your PS5.
Yeah, but
Pretty
unless
sure
those
number one
games
fan of
have,
the podcast, Kevin, he plays some game with keyboard and mouse on
but this is the thing,
PlayStation.
unless those games actually have like the button mapping in the options already for that game.
Oh, you're saying just a generic button mapping like through a PlayStation to say, hey, do you
That's
want
what
to
I'm
play
saying.
it with
Yeah,
this?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like unless that is already taken into account for the port of those games on console, then it kind of like, well, okay, great, you have a keyboard now, but you can't do anything with it. Not at least not for the game. So I mean, like, that's what I'm looking for. I'm
Yeah,
looking for a
they need
seamless port.
compatibility, but I'm pretty sure some games already offer that. Diablo might be one of them, honestly.
If they are, they haven't made that widely known, and honestly, that would be a thing to do if you wanted to make those games succeed on console. It would be odd for that information to be elusive or unknown.
All right, moving on to the next one here. I do. This is more for our number one fan of the podcast. I posted this up in our chat, and I also texted this to him. Just the leaked maps of zombies for Call of Duty Cold War. The first one, I don't know if anybody recognizes because I think Giuseppe, you've played zombies before for COD.
Yeah.
If you look in the chat, the first one says Tombstone Soda. It's a vending machine that shows Tombstone Soda. Does that have any significance to you?
Let me look in the chat real quick. Let's see.
All right. In the meantime, it's basically just a couple of two other screenshots that we have here, but it's basically the leak of the new zombies map that's coming out for Cold War.
Yeah, I don't. That's not triggering anything for me. Like I don't. I'm
Okay.
not sure what the significance.
Neither am I, because I played Black Ops 3 and Black Ops Zombies. I played both of those, so that doesn't ring a bell for me. I'm sure if number one fan of the podcast was here, he'd probably be like, yeah, this is what this means. So maybe we'll get that clarification from him later.
He hasn't heard of Tombstone as a buff.
Oh, okay. So I don't know why this is specifically being shown off then. Odd. All right. Well, there's that. Okay. I think I'm on my last two here. So the next one I got is relating to Ghost of Tsushima. The creative director, Dave Malloy, has posted up in his LinkedIn profile, presently working on the Ghost of Tsushima game for PlayStation. Previously, I believe it said Sony PS5. He may have corrected it because Adam had showed me a tweet that later it showed it was corrected or changed. I might have an altered version of the screen cap. That's also a case. But he has inadvertently basically confirmed that there is another Ghost of Tsushima coming down the pipeline. Any thoughts on these, gentlemen, since I know Adam and I have extensive history with Ghost, and Giuseppe is getting to that point now. We are very avid.
That's the
players of this
obvious
game.
choice, is it not? I mean, it's a great successful launch for a new IP. It's a great game. Again, not having completed it, everything that I've experienced, and I've put in a decent amount of hours into that game so far. Everything that I've experienced in that game, from the story, the characterization, the gameplay, the freedom of play, the freedom of choice in terms of like how you want to reveal the game to yourself, is wonderful. In fact, it reaffirms my notion prior to even playing it that it was probably the most deserving game of the year last year, and it's even more solidified now. I have nothing but good feelings about Ghost of Tsushima. There's not been one point that I've been frustrated with it. There's not been one point that I feel like, oh well, this is just like off-putting to me. Like everything about that game has been enjoyable, and it makes all the sense in the world for them to expand upon it.
So far, any improvements that you'd like to see in it? And the same question goes for you, Adam.
Well, go ahead, Adam. You go first because you know more.
There's a couple things wrong with his rumor so far, though. He's not the creative director at Sucker Punch. He's the cinematic creative director. He's the cutscene guy.
I left that out.
Yeah, no, it's kind of important, but he
cinematic creative director.
He's not. He might be working on it. This doesn't confirm anything. He changed it already. I don't even know if it was like that before. If that was edited, seemed like he actually did change it. But they're probably working on a Ghost of Tsushima. They wouldn't be that far in it. They wouldn't be at the cutscenes yet, I wouldn't think, because that game just launched less than a year ago. That's too quick. Improvements? I don't know. Like, I'm so bad at, like, what could be better about this game that you love? Because I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't know until, like, years after. And then I play it and go, oh, I hated this.
Just the overall facial animations, just a little better. More in-depth multiplayer, if they decide to ship it with multiplayer, or maybe we get it as a surprise later. More costumes as well. I want more.
Yeah, I mean, expansion, bigger and better.
I feel that. Costumes. I like that idea. I like having a little bit more, like applying some of the freeform aspects.
Being able to also customize the armor more rather than just colors.
Customizing the look, and not only the look but also the pieces. You know, maybe being able to swap different parts of the armor out. Like, you know, maybe you want to make like 50% down the middle is samurai, the 50% on the other side is ninja. I mean, that would be it could be weird looking, but you know, to give players that option, that would be kind of neat. Totally immersion breaking, but it would be kind of neat.
I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'd be okay with looking ridiculous. It's nice how they finally gave us loadouts. It's too bad I already beat the game twice before they gave them, but whatever.
Last one I got here. Major Nelson on his latest podcast mentioned we have a lot of big shows with some interviews, of course, to support all of our game releases, and some other news coming up there as well. Xbox only confirmed Crossfire X, Exo Mecha, Halo Infinite multiplayer as free-to-play games that are going to be coming in 2021. This was also the same day that they had reverted their prices and unlocked all free-to-play games indefinitely. Seems like they're hyping up 2021 as this big year Xbox, which, I mean, in their terms, they should. Halo's going to be coming out this year. For them, that's the big, that's the big guns. Forza, I don't know if that's going to be coming out this year, but last time we saw that, it was a tech demo they were showing of Forza. And who knows what else they have under wraps to see if they can do something. But any thoughts on that one?
I mean, yeah, good for Xbox.
Yeah, Major Nelson, or his real name, Larry, I think. Larry Herb. Yeah, I follow him on Twitter. He's like, he's got a real position He's like the director of programming or something at Xbox, but he's basically the hype man. He's also the one that gives out free Xbox codes on Fridays on Twitter. That trends like every year or every week. Yeah, I mean, like, cool. It's exciting. They need people to like be excited about the console and the games coming to it and Game Pass, and
Sure.
they've just released numbers where their video game division is over $5 billion now, and then Game Pass is growing by 1 million subscribers pretty much every month. So we'll see if that continues. If that continues to Halo, like they got good numbers. So and then the free to play should finally be enacted, because it's still not live yet. They're working on it. They said. So
The only problem with Game Pass still going up and then making so much money in there is that their Series X is just still not selling as well as the PlayStation 5.
yeah, I mean, honestly, the I think the consoles would be selling a little bit better if they were available anywhere. I would love to have seen this year to see how well both of them have done, if they were available. I think PlayStation 5s would still be hard to find if they could make as many as they want. And I think Xbox is like you'd be able to find them. I think it'd be the same situation as
From
like
what
a
I've
week
read
after
on
the Xbox One.
some of the numbers, it's 2-1 that they still sell though. Every 2 PlayStations, only 1 Xbox sells.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. The hype around the PlayStation 5, along with all the games that are confirmed for this
Still
year,
real and
throughout the
alive
year.
and yeah.
So yeah, no, Sony's as we all thought we thought they were gonna blow it somehow, but so far they kept going. They still haven't announced an
doing it still.
SSD that's external. They still haven't done a lot of things. That's kind of annoying, but we'll
Imagine the
we're getting
hype
there.
when they announce all these things though.
Oh, bring me folders, please. I want folders.
Bring me internal SSD support, please. And with that, I'm done with my segment, guys.
All right.
Awesome. So, does anyone else have anything else to wrap up? Because I feel like maybe we're at the end.
I say we keep it short this week. Sometimes we go long, sometimes we go short.
Let's keep it
About
short
an hour
then.
and 41. An hour and 41 in.
Short and sweet.
I'm feeling it. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Crafting a Chat, episode 26, in the bag, as it were. Hopefully you found it enjoyable, entertaining, insightful. And if not, well, oh well. We'll maybe try to do better next time. But only maybe.
Oh well.
And that's it for Crafting a Chat. This is for your boys, Adam, Genesis, Giuseppe Jones. Crafting a Chat is bidding you all a fond farewell. Be safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, be nice to people, and enjoy games. And bye, all.
Bye.
Twitch.tv/craftingachat. Bye.